I guess without further ado, I can go ahead and jump in and just start giving some background on what we're achieving today and why we have these sessions, and then I'll let Ida introduce our guest today. Let me just go ahead and put it on speaker view. So again, my name is Melissa Roscoe. I'm the Executive Director of the Global Impact Relations Network. We're an organization dedicated to educating and championing the practice of responsible, ethical, and transparent communications. We do this with brands. Our community is about 500 between brands and practitioners. But we've got agencies in 9 countries, and I think from the looks of today's chat, we've got just people within the network from all over the globe, which is pretty great because it's an initiative that was sort of created out of frustration and a need for changing the way organizations and people communicate, and so it's due to the sessions and the board members of our team, but also the sessions, including hosts and subject matter experts like Andreas today, that we're able to educate the community on responsible communications practices and understand how brands and practitioners can do that more ethically. So Ida, I will go ahead and hand it over to you. A couple quick housekeeping things. If everyone can just try to mute your microphones. We'll have some time at the end for some Q&A. We also welcome you to join in the chat and ask questions so that we can log those questions at the end. Our hashtags are Impact Relations and Comms for Change, if you're sharing any of this on social media. And all the handles are Impact Relations at Impact Relations. And if you are inspired by what you're learning today and you want to pledge to the standards that we've created at the Impact Relations Network, please go to the website impactrelations.org and you can go to our pledge, and just basically it's a free community to be part of, and it just means that you want to stay informed and part of the network on this practice. So I will go ahead and hand it over to Ida.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for that smooth transition. I appreciate it. So I am thrilled to have Andreas here with us today from Fjällräven. As you can hear from my pronunciation, we actually have one thing in common, which is that I am also from Sweden originally, but I'm part of the Global Impact Relations Network now as a community builder to support building kind of a bigger bridge, a more solid bridge over to Europe and also to the virtual world, because we're just about to launch a Slack community. So stay till the end to hear a little note on that as well. So Andreas is the head of global brand experience for Fjällräven. And Fjällräven, as you might know, because you're here, is a very exciting outdoor brand that's focusing on, you might know their backpacks in particular, but also other kinds of gear and clothing. And it's really about creating this vision of us as people feeling at home and safe in nature for the good of ourselves, in our mental health, and also, of course, for the good of the environment. And before we hand it over to Andreas to sort of take it away with an overview of Fjällräven, let me just tell you how it's going to go. So there will be this overview first about the general brand strategy and the sort of approach and vision. From there, there'll be a moderated Q&A for about 15 minutes. And from there, we'll have an open Q&A. So as Melissa already mentioned, it'd be great if you could stay muted up until that point, and then we'll bring all of your questions in. And of course, in the meantime, if you have any questions, any comments, please just put them in the chat, and I might also be able to integrate them as we go along. And just also be mindful that this session is being recorded. So if you want to spill the beans on any hyper secret projects, maybe now is not the time. Other than that, it should be all good. And we would also love to see your faces. So please just come on in with your camera. No one's judging. You're kind of in my bedroom if you didn't see it already. It's a community and we'd love to see you and hear you as we go along. And one final very exciting thing is that we're actually doing a little giveaway. So either one of you will walk away with a backpack in a color of your choice from Fjällräven, their iconic Konken backpack. And the only thing you'd need to do is go on Twitter after this and type in your key takeaway from the session. So make sure that you tag at Impact Relations and use the hashtag comms4change. These are all now in the chat to be in the running, and we'll pick a random winner in the next 24 hours. Alrighty, you ready to get started? Energy levels are high? Good, love it. So yeah, exactly, psyched. So Andreas, take it away. Give us an overview of Fjällräven and all the amazing work you're doing there.
Thank you, Ida, for that nice presentation. I'm honored to be here, and I hope I can share some good insights on how we are doing our work ahead. And I'd like to start to dig into the topic on how we work. I will let you know more and more about the company, but I won't start with a corporate presentation of it all. I just want to sort of kickstart with our strategy, which is super important for all the work we do. And that strategy is actually within our mission to inspire the world to walk with nature. And I do like to highlight and emphasize the word with, because we strongly believe in the principle that the more people spend, the more time people spend in nature, the more they learn to care for it and appreciate it. And that is sort of the foundation of sustainability, to know the values built into the term. So that is why we have created, as a big part of the company, different kinds of initiatives and events to reach and inspire people to increase their awareness of how to act responsible in the outdoors when we have taken them to the outdoors. And Fjällräven has actually been a driving force to get people out in nature. It's already back in the 70s, we took families out to the Swedish mountains to experience nature and sort of teach them outdoor skills. Back then we called it Fjällräven Weeks. And for the past 15 years, we've continuously worked to make nature more accessible. And as trekking is the core activity in our DNA, that's where we started. We annually arrange trekking events in Europe, US, and Asia for thousands of people, which we call Fjällräven Classic. And you might ask, but how does that contribute to changing sustainable behavior? And it's quite interesting because it was actually a study done on that particular event in Sweden by two researchers, Daniel Wolf-Watts and Thomas Beere, connected to the eTour, European Tourism Research Institute. So I can share that sort of report later on. But the topic and the title was how nature-based events may create opportunities to foster environmental concern. That was the top line that based the whole report. And the result showed that the event boosted the interest and the confidence of being in the outdoors, and also gave the participants the opportunity to engage more responsible in nature on a higher level than before. So they went through all our data. I mean, we've been doing that event for 15 years, so it's a lot of people they went through and asked from different parts of the world. So it's quite interesting. And to summarize, I just want to highlight what they wrote on the difference an outdoor event can make and how people interact with nature. So this is quoting on their writing. People tend to behave better in nature when they're educated and have guidelines to follow. Organized outdoor activities and events like Fjällräven Classic can really make a difference. They provide a context for outdoor experience. For example, they create narratives about the environment, where the event takes place, and how to behave properly in it. So it's important. Participants invest money and time to prepare for the event. So this makes them more inclined to follow the guidelines set up by the organizations, the organizers, us in that case. So if we learn, the participants, that you need to leave the area, we talk a lot about it, in a better shape when they arrived, they see people acting on that accordingly. We actually have a quite visible trash bag made of recycled tent fabrics that we hand out to each and every one, and we talk about that, and people see it. And then there's people from Asia who I don't want to be, I mean, to all countries not familiar of how to care for nature in the best way. We share, we show, we always talk about that, and the collective, it creates sort of a collective standard that have a positive effect on people's behaviors, not just during the event, but also after the event. So it's a quite, we know it, or we feel it when we're up there, that we make a change. But it felt good with that report also to sort of plant that more firmly in another way. And another example I would say is our winter expedition called Fjällräven Polar, where we annually bring up people to the north of the Arctic Circle to showcase that not expert, regular people without proper sort of knowledge of being outdoors, if we give them the right preparation, the right knowledge, and the right equipment, they can survive and even enjoy the Arctic. So every year we take them out through a big online campaign and such. But the great thing is that many of the participants, they've actually, it's been a game changer in their lives. They've moved to different places. One girl from Holland moved up to a little town called Kiruna, north of Sweden, just to drive dog sleds, to be closer to nature. It's a lot of other examples of people who's really been affected by that, coming close to nature and changing that, giving a bigger understanding of where they want to be with the whole project. But I mean, it's hard to talk about these things, and I think we could share a more visual expression. I shared a movie to Ida, and I think it's a proper time to air it, if I may.
Absolutely. Here we go.
I think it's been an absolutely amazing experience. I've had the best time of my life actually so far.
The trek has been an amazing experience, and it's just been beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
I think the classic really, pushed you in certain areas, but over and all, it was just so much fun. Everybody's super helpful.
Trekking here in Hong Kong is really interesting. It's so varied. We've been on trail and we've been climbing and descending, and I can't recommend this enough.
It was complete torture, but amazing views. And then at the end of each day, it was like, oh, yeah, actually that was fine. I could totally do that.
No amount of pictures that I share, or none of the videos I watched even get me close to just what it feels like to be here.
I'm very, very lucky. What I learned is live the life that you have and just don't complain too much about your life.
I think I need a little time to just digest and actually really figure out what the best memory is, because right now it's all just been mind-blowing.
It's the whole trip. The whole trip is just like a golden ticket to life. Like, seriously, it just makes you realize how small you are.
I don't believe in ideologies and so on, but I believe if you change yourself, you change the world, and this one definitely changed.
Wow, Andrea, what an inspiration.
Yeah, I hope you got some goosebumps from that. I mean, we really believe in physical events. We invest a lot of time in them because we see it as a backbone for the whole company, making everybody involved in it, from new employees to top management. We are at our events and talking about, of course, our products, but also really seeing the change people take, meet each other, I mean, the biggest, we have a Facebook group on Fjällräven Classic, for example. It's 12,000 people now on it that continuously talk with each other, and we don't control it. We of course have a voice there to see what is and help out if they have practical questions, but the communication is on there every day, and people are inspiring each other from their previous experience. So it could be it's fantastic to see. So we invest a lot in that, but of course digital events is important now more than ever, and I mean, to reach people all over the world, and adding that layer of sort of learning and development for users to get out and prepare to nature. So we have, I will go into that a bit later on, but a strategy of meeting, if you have a triangle, then you're meeting the users digitally in front of your computer with how-tos and learning and developing to make your own outdoor excursions. And finally, you may end up on a Fjällräven Classic event somewhere in the world, but it's not. It could be an aspirational goal, even though we are handling the event as something that everybody can do with the right preparation. It's not extreme in that sense. We're not going for the extremes. We go for the experience. But
Andreas, just to quickly clarify,
yeah.
So your strategy didn't change significantly despite Corona, is that right?
That's right. That's definitely. We just took another turn or accelerated, I would say, and we will keep on accelerating. I mean, we have a lot of job to do there, but we're accelerating the digital footprints, so to say, of making more movies, making more coming webinars, and meeting ambassadors, and yeah, we need to grow that parallel to the physical events. They are in no way sort of taking energy from each other, at least not in our world. We still have physical events, really important to do, but we need to see the situation now during COVID and where we can do it. For example, we have a Fjällräven Classic in Germany that we had to postpone this year, but instead we're doing a Fjällräven Classic TV format, where we have visuals, the video we shot from the event, and we bring in people, local people from the area. We track it digitally, and I have a Q&A beside it, so you can ask when you come to a checkpoint, and trying to make that alive. We have to be creative to sort of find the ways when we can't do it, but we really want to do it long term. So no doubt about that. I mean, digital is important, but physical is the end goal, I would say. But I think if I just to not be too lengthy in my answer, but from a marketing perspective, I think you need to be active and relevant to the users, and to be able for them to share and engage. You need to make an effort and feel that the brand has given you something, and that's our goal, our ambition, at least. So we still need to further develop all the touch points in communication, because the users are across platforms, channels, and we don't meet them all, but we're trying and we're building. It's a parallel work, I would say. So that was sort of a short intro of the strategy, how we work.
Perfect. Thanks, Andreas. And I'm already having a lot of questions, so let's jump into a Q&A. And also note for everyone here, please type any of your questions into the chat because we would love to bring them in. So this idea of brand experience, that's a pretty interesting and unique work title in some respects. When did you first create this idea that you can build brand and build impact with brand experiences?
I mean, brand experience is one word to dress. I think it felt good. Brand experience, I see this as one overarching sort of unity or idea that penetrates a lot of communication. It connects the users with the brand in an authentic way. That's how I think, or we as a brand think, and creating sort of strong and rewarding experiences connects people with the brand, but also brings value to the group in itself, because people like to hang with each other, with their tribe, with their group. And if we as a brand can facilitate and nurture that sort of what the group are longing for, then we bring a meaning to the users to be with us, and they want to invest their time in our brand. And
Yes, do you mind if I jump in real quick? Because I actually had a question about that, and because we can have a brand experience, be it good or bad. So the concept of brand experience, I think, when looking at how you guys have taken the approach to brand experiences, and it's like, it's not just about creating the moments like what you guys created, but when you're thinking about like, this is the experience I want people to have with this brand, and it's a positive one. Like there's a lot of like you have a lot of fans, like there's a lot of positive sentiment with the Fjällräven brand. So how can some of the other brand marketers sort of what tips would you have to go beyond just thinking, okay, you want them to experience something, but like, how do you identify like what that experience is going to be? I'm sure there's like a storyboarding or there's some kind of creative process where you're like, this is what we want people to experience when they encounter our brand.
It's a good question, a really good question. And it's not an easy one to answer directly, but I mean, it comes back to the brand in itself. Where do you come from? What do you want to achieve? Where do your sort of gut feeling that you want to share, or maybe sort of you want to solve a problem or something? I mean, if we want to solve a problem, we want to get people out in nature because we know where we think that it will benefit, and yeah, it starts to think of what will the benefit be and how can you dress that in a nice way, and really important. And I find that when I came to the company, that it is so well rooted from top management all the way down to the new employees, which are sort of, when you come into the company, it could be an agent from Asia or whatever. You are what we say, come to Sweden, walk Fjällräven Classic. If you want to start up an event, we will help you to do that. And it's regional, smaller events, but it needs to be, you need to get the feeling of the brand from Sweden, where we originate, because then you get management, you get users. It's not just us talking about how great it is, because everybody can do that, but you really want to get the right feeling. I don't know if it was the answer, but yeah.
No, that makes sense. I think about when you talk about like starting an event, I think about Red Bull, and they're all about brand activations and experiences, and people go there and they get the experience of, you know, like excitement, extreme sports, outdoor, whatnot. It's not, sustainability isn't on the top list of takeaways that they want people to leave with the brand experience. What would you say are like the 5 adjectives that you want people to leave with in terms of defining the brand experience? Like, what do you always want to make sure? And then I'm going to mute myself and let someone else jump in with questions because there's others.
You want, with a good brand experience, you want, first of all, you want some kind of value. You want it to receive something. You want to be paid for sort of your invested time in that, and that could be in the experience itself, or the people you meet, or the context you sort of end up with, and it could be also the context of, yes, I met people. They facilitated meeting places for other sort of people that I do like to hang with. So it's the event is enabler, if I'm using the word correct, but it's a platform to do a lot of other stuff. You connect with users and you make them to connect to each other, but also come back to the brand and start a communication.
You create the atmosphere,
a dialogue.
And they execute the experience. Right.
And Andreas, let me jump in here with kind of a question about your audience, because obviously the discussion around sustainability and nature and environment in general has changed a lot in the last few years. And in many respects, it's been very widened. There's a much bigger audience these days. Is that something that Fjällräven has observed? And maybe also as a follow-up to this one, you've kind of become this urban fashion staple with your new backpack, or the Konken backpack. So has that changed in any way how you approach your brand strategy, and how did that even happen to begin with?
There were a lot of questions in that question, but if I start, I mean, Fjällräven is based to make. We have 3 sort of ways of working. We develop functional, durable and timeless equipment. That's what we've done. We never been into fashion, but sometimes a garment or a product can be lifted up sort of in other areas. But if you look at how we manufacture our clothing and with development, we have a certain color pattern, we have a certain distinct form or shape, or how we like to envision it. We call it emotional longevity. If you want to have a garment for Fjällräven, you can have it for 10, 20, 30 years. I actually have it. I didn't bring it now, but I have a jacket that my father started using when he went up to North Sweden on glaciers. I use it now in my I think it's a cool urban jacket. Because that has the right patina, it has the buttons are all shiny because it's used. So we make we have that design philosophy, and we don't put clothing on a fashion scene, but it ends up there somehow. And that's the same way with Konken. I mean, it's a door opener in that sense, but it started out in the 70s. I have it here. If for those of you who doesn't know, it's a square-shaped backpack, really durable and functional in that sense. It was made to incorporate 2 affine binders. That's why it's square, and it's sewn together with just one big loop of thread, so it's super durable. And in that sense as well, I have my old Konken backpack. As a school kid, you got one from your parents, and it's still, I can pick it up. It works totally fine. But now, I mean, that it adds. So in Sweden, you can see old people, young people, school, everybody. I saw it on my ski trip just the other week. People skiing with, and then you can see it in New York with some others. So it ends up, it has an iconic look, and people pick it up. We don't mind that Madonna picks it up, or David Zuckerberg put it on his kid, and it hits off. But it's not something that we actively push. And I know from some South Korea, for example, they a teenage band start using or had the Konken on a music video, and it rocketed, and exactly those colors that they wore, but somehow it ends up in many different forms, because we have a big variety. We have sort of, yeah, it's a family of Konkens, I would say, in big different sizes and colors and webbings and so on. So we're not aiming to be fashion or picked up by fashion or somebody else. It's just good products that will last for a long time, and it will be cyclic in that sense. And so we're pretty stubborn in that sense. And you'll see the color palette and the design pattern. It is uniquely Fjällräven in that sense, and it lasts for a long time. It's not meant to be that you buy a new jacket every year. You can still use your jacket. You can use your grandpa's jacket, and that's what we really aiming for.
And that shows the full connection between the brand and the product itself, of course. So let me throw out one last question before we open it to an open Q&A. Already some great questions in the chat, so thanks everyone. I'm curious about how you would compare yourself and how you're thinking about your strategy when you consider it with other brands that are more activist oriented. There are quite a few outdoor brands you might be thinking of that are more walking down this route in terms of creating and inspiring more sustainable behavior. So how come Fjällräven decided not to be politically active in that sense? And will you ever be? If not, then why?
I think you need to dig where you stand, so to speak. And we have always been sort of firmly rooted with the thought of our work is to inspire people to get out in nature. We will do it our way. I appreciate a lot of other brands doing a lot of other activities, but we have found our way of working that is long term, and we can get our message through the users the way we want to communicate with them. We bring our sort of retailers to really understand what the brand is about. It's not a quick fix. We don't aim for that. It's long term, knowing that we are a sustainable brand and has always been, because sustainability really is about sort of creating a balance between sort of nature, well-being, society, and economy, sort of aligning the core values and making it for your brand closer to your mission. So the different companies have different missions, but our sustainable road leads up to our mission, I would say. There are different ways of walking the trek, but we have found our way, and we will continue to trek it, if I may say.
Walking the road towards the vision. Okay. Yeah. So let's open it up. There are some great questions in the chat. And actually, I would like to ask you if you'd be willing to just ask the questions yourselves and unmute. Otherwise, I'm also happy to read it. But Claudia, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the most challenging area that you found to manage or create a positive brand experience. You know, the treks looked absolutely incredible, but for, I guess, customers across the globe, you mentioned in Korea, for example, what have been your challenges to help create and foster that experience for those customers?
I mean, you have to put a lot of effort. First of all, you need to be careful to choose if you start working with a distributor or an agent or a customer. You need to make sure that yes, you're on this trek with Fjällräven, and that means they have to invest a little bit more time, I think, to grasp what we are aiming for. So it's a bit of a harder work in the process of choosing it, but if you've chosen the right people, and of course we can change and tweak, but it's fantastic with the initiatives done locally. If they understand, they can really take the values of the brand and make it local. And you can see that, yeah, it's a bit different in Korea, but they get it. They get it, the big thought of inspiring people, doing it their way. That's the biggest challenge, I think, to go all the way, because in the end of the day, you want to sell equipment and gear for retailers and such, and we need to paint that story that yes, it's this topic you need to address in order to have a long-lasting relationship with the brand that makes sales in the end, I would say. So that is something that we work constantly with and really try and communicate the values of the brand and the products and how we are to be portrayed.
I suppose there are some values that are human and therefore also translates globally. Actually, this fits very, very nicely into Joe's question. Joe, do you want to unmute?
Thank you. The point I would like you to clarify is that do you collaborate with ambassadors? And if you do that, how do you choose their profile in comparison to, for example, brands like the North Face or a brand like who are along the same, if you want, equity, and they have the same narrative as you do in a different commercial atmosphere, of course, but do you do that, and how you do it?
Yes, we have people that friends of Fjällräven that we work with, but we have chosen, I would say, people that want to work with Fjällräven. It's a similar approach, but we have a series called Bergtagen, which is mountaineering. When you're up climbing and skiing, it's quite a limited sort of series, but then you need in the development phase of the garments, the series, you need mountain guides and you need really stop people. So in that sense, we handpicked good people that was part of the product development, and we've continuously worked with them, but we're not paying people to say something that they don't or sort of approve this year and then they choose another one. That's not our path. So we're trying to connect it with people who want to work with us long term. And the downside of that is maybe that we don't get as much reach because they're not big global players with a big social account. Some are bigger than others, but it's not part of the strategy to get famous athletes in that sense. More of finding person that could contribute to some knowledge, and we lift them in that sense. They can contribute with how-to moves and experience and share that part. So we rather go that way than finding the top athletes, because we are not in the competitive scene, I would say. We're in trekking, enjoying nature and sharing knowledge. So we want to work with those kinds of people.
And Andreas, in terms of then also comparing with other brands and maybe translating some of your insights to other brands, Jenny, do you want to ask your question?
Sure. I want to know, what can fast fashion brands learn from Fjällräven and their commitment to sustainability?
I mean, long term is the biggest advocacy, I would say. Thinking long term of how you want to work, to be in business. You need to make those choices quite early, to choose sort of your direction, and then you choose your design language, your choice of fabrics, so on. But it starts sort of, where do we want to sit, and where are we aiming to go? Do we want to be a truly sustainable brand? Then it's a long journey, and that journey never ends, I would say. We're constantly sort of going back and forth and trying new materials, and we experienced, I mean, now as an example, you need to be curious. If you have your vision, there's a long journey ahead, but making sure that, okay, yes, we want to be more sustainable, or we want to be the most sustainable, then you find your path and start working on that, and maybe find, it's about design, it's about choice of materials, and choice of sort of people and communication to envision that journey. That is important. I mean, and I can only speak about Fjällräven in that sense, but we were approached. We were approached by Acne Studios, a brand in Sweden. They are a fashion brand in Scandinavia or Sweden. I don't know how big they are globally, but they approached us because the owner is a Swede, and he was brought up with the big Fjällräven down jacket. It's called Expedition jacket, and he was so fond of it, and he was so fond of the brand Fjällräven, the Konken backpack, the simplicity and the durability. And he said, can't we do a collab on sort of us interpret Fjällräven in a new way? And it was a new thing, and we haven't had a lot of discussion internally how we're going to do that. But we said, yes, you can and do this together with us, but then you need to follow our sustainability sort of obligation that we have, the context we have. So that was a bumpy road ahead, but I think they learned a lot, and we learned also a lot of sort of knowing how the industry thinks, and yeah, it was very interesting. But I think helped them a lot on the sustainability journey of thinking, because it is long term. You need to, just with materials, you need to find the right one, work with them long term. I mean, we've been, since our fabric G1000, we've had it since the 1960s. So our partners, we're really long term, and we developed ways of working together with them. Yeah, that's how we see it.
Cedric, you
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know if you meant to.
Oh no, I didn't mean to. Hey everybody, Andreas, it's good to hear from you. I'm questioning what role does diversity and inclusion kind of play in the way that you try to generate brand experiences with your consumers?
Yeah. Also, really relevant question, and I would say inclusion and diversity is I mean, nature doesn't judge. When you're out there, it doesn't matter where you come from, how you look, what's part of it. And you see, for example, our Fjällräven Polar event, we have people from all over the world, Asia, US, Africa. I mean, it's really global. The hard part is but that's more on a general level. How do we make nature more accessible in urban environments, in people who hasn't experienced what nature could be? And that's regardless of your color of your skin or whatever. You need to be open, and and finding the way. How do we reach people to get out in nature? How do we form groups or initiatives that support that? So yes, we have a long way to go, but we on our events that we do have, it's a big mix of people coming from I think 50 plus countries is the Fjällräven Classic in Sweden, for example. But then you need to be dedicated as a trekker that to sort of do that part. But we want to be open and inclusive to all people to get out in nature. That's for sure.
And what do those kind of urban experiences look like, or what's your strategy for tackling that segment?
We have, I mean, we see different user profiles, of course, with different needs. And our long-term goal is, of course, to meet those needs on different levels. And as I said in the beginning, we like to look at it as a pyramid. And the big broad base is to reach people globally, maybe online, with the sort of inspirational content and also educational content, and spark something that you want to get out in nature. And the next level maybe is to interact with store events, coming to a store, or that's most normal for us to have the first level. You interact, you have a store activation, you can meet people, you can have inspire conversation about outdoor people and how to go further. The next level we call campfire events, and that's sort of up one level. Then you go out to sleep in the outdoors, maybe one night, maybe 2 nights, to get a hang of, learn it to the next sort of level you want to experience. And that is new to us. We are developing that phase. Some countries are already doing it, but it's definitely on the agenda to build that further on. And then the next level over that is actually the Fjällräven Classic events, which are open to everybody, but it is, you need to, I mean, there are in certain destinations in Sweden, in Germany, in US, in Korea, UK, for example. So it's not everywhere, but it's a commitment. You need to trek maybe 50, 70 or 110 kilometers. So you need to prepare a bit more than the lower levels. But our goal is to be more open and finding the levels where people are more and more, I would say.
And that's going to be my key takeaway, probably, is this idea of building engagement over time and sort of leveling that up. So I think we have time for about 2 more questions. Ghana, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask?
Yes, that was right. I just wanted to know, how important do you find the transparency of your supply chain? Yes, how important is it to your customers, to your target group? Do you find it has a high importance for them that you are being transparent about this, especially in inspiring them? Is there any doubt, or what are your
no, I mean, good question, but we have a pretty strict sort of code of conduct. If you started working with Fjällräven as a supplier of fabrics or and such, you need to really approve what we are aiming for, and we are aiming for to be as transparent as we can, and we're constantly trying to find ways. For example, wool. How to find ways to be really traceable down to the actual sheep or sheep farm. But it is a rocky road of finding that. We have been we've done a great job with the down process of finding sort of down to the geese farm where everybody sort of gets the down, to be fully transparent all the way down. But it's a massive workload on each sort of fabric and finding the way. But we are constantly working on finding way. And wool is now sort of, we are very interesting paths. And if we started pressure, we will come further and further, I would say. So it is a constant work, and we want to push our suppliers and share what we can as much as possible.
That's great. Let us do a quick final one. I want like a short visionary statement from you, because Emily, I did not forget about you. And I'm gonna read your question for you. Andreas, where do you see Fjällräven as a brand in 5 to 10 years?
Oh, I mean, we want to, we say internally, we want to be the most premium and sustainable brand out there. I mean, we want to be, I want to have those initiatives in that pyramid all over the world, so people really can engage and meet us on different levels and different languages, countries, to really get to know the brand Fjällräven and start to walk the ladder together with us. So in the future, we definitely see us as the go-to brand for sustainable equipment, but also a long-term sustainable sort of nature and outdoor approach. That's what we are aiming for, definitely.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for all of the wisdom and insights that you shared today or tonight, depending on where you are in the world. Yeah, I can see a silent applause. Really, I really enjoyed it. And, you know, we covered everything from how to engage your audience in different levels of engagement to how important experiences are to begin with, and kind of what impact really looks like through that video, if nothing else. And as Melissa pointed out in the chat, probably the key takeaway from her side and so many of us is that nature doesn't judge. So this really brings us together. And that leads me so nicely into my final point, which is that we are building a Slack community, an online community for all of us globally to connect around these types of conversations, so that each and every one of us can do our work in a more efficient and a more, you know, effective way to really inspire change in a sustainable direction around us and in our brands. So if you're interested in joining as one of the first few members to start those first conversations, then in the Zoom chat, you can just write interested to me directly or just in the chat in general, and we will send you a personal invite to join as the first few founding members. And before I hand over to Melissa to close, I also want to say, you know, we heard all about this backpack. It's incredible. It's durable. We all want it. If you want it, which we know you do, then go on Twitter and type your key takeaway from this session using @ImpactRelations and #comms4change, and we will potentially send you a backpack. So Melissa, let's close.
Thank you so much, Andreas. That was so fun. I learned a lot. I was trying to get a screenshot of you when you held up the backpack, so I'm going to shamelessly ask you to do that again, because I think it'll look
I can't do it again.
The giveaway. But thanks a lot, and I hope that you join us for future impact councils as well. We've had you know, lots of great learnings from experts like you. Just quickly drop in the link here, Impact Relations Pledge link, if you want to stay part of the community and continue to learn with us and grow with us and share ideas, please join us. And next month, we will be focused on racial justice. It's the next Impact Council. More details to come, but thanks everyone for your